what of the spies working for my sister, Obadashi? Have they gained any valuable insight that will aid my plans?
No, my prince. We have not heard back from them yet, but I am certain they will be able to gain vital knowledge.
I hope you are right. If there is any chance for me to ascend, I must gain more advantages.
Prince Zuhana strolled through one of the palace corridors, while his head manservant, Safiero, stepped a single pace behind. It was still fairly early in the morning, and yet the entire palace was abuzz with excitement. Last night, many had seen the ominous light to the south, and there were unsettling whispers related to what it could be. The prince didn't care for such things, as they would not aid him in his ultimate goal. Prince Zuhana was a muscular man, with well-built abs, arms, and thighs. His head had been shaved, and he wore a periwinkle-colored headscarf over his head. Prince Zuhana also wore golden bracers ornamented with lapis lazuli and a fine skirt made from silk. His sandals were of exquisite quality. The prince's eyes were brown and filled with ambition. Safiero wore plain, beige-colored robes made from fine silks, and he also wore sandals on his feet. He had a shaved head, with the exception of a single black braid of hair coming from the back of his head. His eyes were gray.
Have you gathered any information related to why my mother may have called this formal meeting? I assume it is regarding the Black Pillar?
That is probably the reason, my prince. The entire city, if not the whole kingdom, is concerned about it.
When the royal audience begins, I want you to take note of my siblings' reactions, as well as their handmaidens or manservants. I should not have to inform you that you will also be observed.
No, my prince. But I thank you for your wisdom.
The Black Pillar. What a nuisance.
Prince Zuhana and Safiero came to the royal audience chamber where the Nedja, the royal guards, waited. The Nedja were adorned in the same uniforms, golden skirts, golden sandals, and an elaborate and thick golden necklace with a small, polished red ruby in the center of it. They were armed with master-quality sickle swords, had shaved heads, and elaborate tattoos with flowing lines under their right eyes. As the prince came upon them, one of the Nedja bowed their heads and then opened the door to the royal audience chamber. The royal audience chamber was quite large, spacious enough to accommodate at least 40 people. A pair of Nedja were beside the doors on the inside, while another pair stood beside the throne on the far side of the room. There was an entryway on that side too, for the Pharaoh, and it was concealed by a great column of stone. The column was decorated with beautiful reliefs, telling of the ancient past of the royal family. The floors were covered in dark blue marble, a special import from distant lands, while a crimson carpet ran from the door all the way to the throne. The throne itself rested on a raised platform that stood 8 feet from the floor, connected by 3 staircases on each side. Each of the staircases were chiseled from the same dark blue marble as the rest of the floor. Great white columns were on either side of the royal audience chamber, like pillars of clouds. Beyond both sets of columns were 2 great balconies that overlooked the palace and various views of Memphar, the capital city. On the left balcony, one could see the section of the city designed for the anointed, the population pool from which all royal spouses for the children of the Pharaoh were selected. That was also where the families of the siblings of the new Pharaoh would be integrated into. That would not be Prince Zuhana's destiny. No, he would be the next Pharaoh, while his siblings would become anointed. On the right balcony, one could see the vast majority of Memphar, where the common people lived. The Pharaoh's throne was a beautiful piece of furniture, that demonstrated the excellence of rulership. It was crafted from gold, ivory, and the finest wood, with a dark blue cushion resting on the seat. Just as he might have expected, his sisters, Princesses Nephryana and Obidashi, were already present and waiting before the first step at the base of the platform. His youngest brother, Prince Tatenmoko, wasn't there yet, and in fact, he was always last to arrive. However, Ahani was not present, but instead, one of her handmaidens stood in her place. Prince Zuhana didn't react to the handmaiden's presence outwardly, and he suspected his siblings also showed the same level of disinterest. Inwardly, however, a raging curiosity began taking hold. Princess Nephryana was the eldest of the five, and she wore an exquisite black wig, with small bits of jewels and gold ornaments in the ends of the wig's strands. She wore a white dress that had a plunging neckline and a pair of golden bracelets around her wrists. Her eyes were brown. Princess Obidashi was younger than Prince Zuhana, and once upon a time, she had been his brother. Of all Prince Zuhana's siblings, she was the most ambitious, second only to him. She was taller than he was, but was slender, with a longer face. Princess Obidashi wore makeup that accentuated her feminine wiles, and a golden dress that hugged her curves nicely. A scowl was on her face this morning. Standing just behind his sisters were their respective handmaidens or manservants, and no one said anything. After several minutes, Prince Tatenmoko finally waltzed into the audience chamber. As per the usual, a broad smile creased Prince Tatenmoko's face. He was a chubbier man, with a shaved head, thin black eyebrows, and a pair of hazel eyes. His skirt was white, with flecks of gold stripes woven into it, and a pair of silver sandals on his feet. Prince Tatenmoko's handmaiden, who was also known to be a lover as well, sauntered behind him, a pleasant smile on her face too. It was almost a given that Prince Tatenmoko would willingly take to becoming an anointed, rather than go through the trials to be considered a candidate for the throne. One of the Neja who stood by the throne disappeared behind the column, and minutes later, he returned. The Pharaoh walked in a moment later. Prince Zuhana's mother, Hatshepsut, was a tall, muscular woman who had recently celebrated the exact middle of her 4th decade. Her commanding eyes were brown, and a pair of thin black eyebrows covered them. She wore black eyeliner, lip liner, and a slight sheen on her lips. She wore a white dress with a golden hemline at the bottom of the garment. Her golden sandals glimmered from underneath her dress. The Pharaoh wore an elaborate crown that was quite tall and made from ivory, gold, and fabric. The front of the crown was squared and low to the brow, but the back stretched up to form a slender rectangular piece. Most of the crown was made from ivory, with a gold band at the base of the crown, and various bits of gold fabric connecting the ivory and the metal. The Pharaoh gently sat down and reviewed her children. As she did, all 4 of her children and the handmaiden bowed before her. Her eyes narrowed.
Tell me why my daughter Ahani is not present, and why you stand in her place.
The handmaiden bowed once more, this time much lower.
Apologies, my pharaoh. My mistress, Princess Ahani, left in the night, along with her other handmaidens, and a company of her soldiers.
A cold spasm flickered in Prince Zuhana's stomach, but he kept it hidden beneath a neutral mask. From the corner of his eyes, he noticed Princess Nephryana frown ever so slightly.
Did she now? And please tell us, where did my daughter Ahani go?
She said she was sailing south along the Va, in hopes of finding the source of the Black Pillar, my pharaoh.
White, hot rage roared in Prince Zuhana's chest. Damn, she had already acted first.
It pleases me that I have at least one child who acts in my best interest rather than their own. You are dismissed, handmaiden. Please make arrangements to return to your mistress's side and aid her in her efforts.
Yes, my Pharaoh.
As soon as the handmaiden turned around, the Pharaoh scowled hard at the four of them. The moisture in Prince Zuhana's mouth evaporated, and it was as if his skin were trying to crawl away to be free from his mother's glare.
Help me understand. Why Ahani was the only one to act?
For a long moment, only dreaded silence lingered between them. It was Princess Nephryana who foolishly stepped first.
Honored Mother, we did not have enough information to act.
Either your sister has a better skill for gathering information than you all do, or she has the will to make decisive decisions when time is crucial. Such traits are worthy of a future pharaoh. I am saddened to see that you all lack her drive.
Prince Zuhana averted his eyes for a moment. His younger sister had gained enormous advantage that could doom him to a life of the Anointed. Those in the Anointed were pampered and well-maintained, but they could never rule. He had to close the gap, and then surpass her.
Listen to me, children, for we are in a dark time. The Black Pillar is a dreaded omen that has been foretold. It marks the beginning of the Death War. According to legend, the land will be choked with conflict before we return to a time of peace. In fact, we've already begun to retaliate.
What do you mean, Honored Mother? And are we certain the light we saw is related to the lesser goddess?
I am certain, daughter, for I have heard from the goddess Dia herself. She has shown me what is to be done, and I have started the Great Purge.
What is this great purge, Honored Mother? How may we assist in its implementation?
It pains me, but I am a servant of the gods and the people. To protect them, we are to wipe out the Order of Anakanti.
Wipe them out? But the Order of the Anakanti oversees the preparation to Aru. If we wipe them out, how will our people ascend to the next world?
A small smile appeared on the Pharaoh's face.
Obidashi, beloved daughter, I admire that you always make decisions with the mind of the people. That is the mark of a great future pharaoh as well.
Thank you, Honored Mother.
The goddess Dia will assume all duties over life and death. While she will become the new death deity, her holy concubine Dios will oversee the new method of ascending to Ar. We will be departing drastically from the traditions of old, all to cancel out Anakanti.
How drastically, Honored Mother?
Very drastically, daughter. Our very culture is going to be on the cusp of changing. Firstly, let me address how we are going to move forward with the Order of Anakanti. Each of the clerics in black will be put to the question of where their loyalties lie. Should they be true to Dia, they will be transformed into clerics of Dia.
And if the cleric of Anakanti should decline, what then, Honored Mother?
Do you find something humorous, my youngest son? This is a grave matter, and yet you treat it as you treat all your royal duties. It is most disappointing.
By no means do I find it humorous, Honored Mother. It is fascinating that we're experiencing such things in our day and age. To be honest, I was becoming quite bored.
If you are so bored, then perhaps you could commit yourself towards serving the people or the city. Your effort could benefit the kingdom, but instead you drown yourself in debauchery and luxury while others starve.
Prince Zuhana tightened his lip, and he watched his mother's face. The Pharaoh's brow had furrowed, and she scowled a little harder.
I am the youngest of 5, and each one of my lovely siblings are more ambitious than the last. Most of all, you two.
The youngest prince pointed at both Princess Obidashi and Prince Zuhana.
What is the point of trying to outshine 4 of you? Only one of us gets to be Pharaoh next, and I know it won't be me. My destiny lies in the way of the anointed.
I'm plenty ambitious. Enough!
We are not here to discuss succession. Tachimoko, you will be anointed soon enough. But until that day, you will serve at my pleasure. Now, to answer your question, those of the Order of Anakanti who refuse to switch their allegiances will be put down and denied R altogether.
Princess Nephryana gasped, and even Prince Zuhana's insides quelled at the thought of being denied rebirth.
There is going to be a new method of funeral rites unveiled within the kingdom. Bodies will be blessed so the souls may transition directly to R, and then the bodies will be cremated. The ashes of the dead will be given back to the land, so we the living may harvest from it.
Wait. We will not be judged anymore before entering into our? It is just assured?
Yes, that is what I've been told by Dia herself.
What about the bodies of those already long past, on the other side of the Va?
That too is changing drastically. Once we have a significant force of Dia death clerics, they will systematically bless and burn all of the bodies. The cities of the dead are to be destroyed, the obelisks crumbled to dust, and we are to expand our cities on that side of the Va.
We're going to expand on the other side of the Va. There's so much fertile land that we have always left for the lesser goddess. Truly, Inonok will thrive because of this.
Yes, daughter. Should our kingdom survive the Death War, then our civilization will swell to numbers unseen in the past.
Of course we shall survive. The Order of Anakanti is such a small order, even with the dreaded Sir included. We have the support of Dia, the primary five, and we have a great military. We will not fall to the lesser goddess.
Son, trust me when I tell you it will not be so easy. We are not going to wait to see what happens. We are going to act. I will oversee the Great Purge within the capital, but I am trusting you four to also venture to the other cities and begin addressing the Anakanti menace.
The Pharaoh pointed toward each of them in turn.
Obidashi, I want you to sail south to the city of Maujet and assume the role of governess. However, if Ahani is already there, sail further south to Ijakos. The rest of you will assist in securing the north. Nephryana, go to the city of Joda. Zuhana, you will go to the city of Nosas. As you are the least interested in royal affairs, Tatomoko, you will go to the smallest of the cities, Gaido.
Prince Zuhana eyed each of his siblings in turn, and they to him.
Be swift and be savage, my children. The survival of the kingdom and its people rely on each of you. All of you. You will assemble your forces and leave tomorrow. You are all dismissed.
The Pharaoh remained in her throne, and she watched her children intently. Princess Obidashi bowed and then marched out of the room. So it would seem that Princess Obidashi gained an advantage today by being closer to the source of the potential doom. Then again, in the right framing, Prince Zuhana and the others were the farthest from where the combat could be. Was this a test, or was his mother giving him a chance? Prince Tatenmoko was the next to leave, and he did so with rapid speed. The city that his youngest brother was going to govern was along the coast, in between Prince Zuhana's city and Princess Nephryana's. Of all five, Prince Tatenmoko would be the easiest to manipulate, for he had already reserved himself to the state of the anointed. Princess Nephryana left a moment later. Prince Zuhana was about to leave, but the Pharaoh's eyes narrowed briefly. He stayed. As soon as they were alone, the Pharaoh spoke.
Do not for a moment think your plots are unseen. They continue at my pleasure.
Yes, honored mother.
Be wise to use the advantage I have gifted you with, my son. But if you ever try and have me assassinated again, I will ensure you are denied R. Am I clear?
Yes, Honored Mother.
Be gone from my sight. Still your plots until after the Death War. I need you all if we are to survive.
Prince Zuhana bowed quite low, and he and Safiero left the royal audience chamber.